When did you say, hey, I think I could make money doing this? Today we're on Business Under Fire with Ferris Mycue that I knew many, many moons ago. We kind of grew up close together. And then what year was that?
That was, so when I started hanging out with you, I was always staying the night over there at Woodridge because you lived on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the street names, but
Larkwood.
Yeah, Larkwood. And, I used to hang out with all those guys like Travis Harper, Zane, and we'd always skate. And that's kind of how we met.
That's a wild. And so Ferris owns a company called Grassworks out of Austin, Texas. And I'm happy to have him here because that's my kind of background. I did landscaping, lawn maintenance for about 20 years, 25 years. And then Ferris has done the same thing up in another market up in Austin, which is the capital of Texas. And how did all of this grass cutting start?
Man, lots of free time. And I was a firefighter I was a firefighter in 2002. And then if you're familiar with that schedule, it's 24 hours on, 48 off. And I had a lot of time to kill. And I got I was looking for an easy way in. And that's one thing about the industry. You can easily get in.
Low cost of entry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a dummy
on
welfare can get moving.
Yep.
And I put an ad on Craigslist, and the first lead I got was in my neighborhood. It was meant to be.
Dang.
I was slamming coffee. I was like, let me put my little 22-inch Murray Home Depot mower in the back of my Jeep. I literally drive down the road. It's around the corner in the neighborhood, and there's the property. I could show you the same property today. And it was this time of year, May, maybe a little wetter. It was a jungle with my little 22-inch mower.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so uncomfortable. I've never done this before. I was like, I'll do it for $75. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, I knock it down, takes me an hour. And then the light came on. Easy math for me.
Yeah.
$75 took me an hour. That's more than I make at the fire department.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started. And it was a side hustle for a while. Didn't really put a lot of energy into it.
Well, and I want to skip since it's the beginning of the podcast. And then where are you today? And then we're going to cover everything in the middle.
Today, what do you want to know?
How many dudes are mowing grass?
We're running about 40 crews out of Austin. We're running about 5 crews out of our Hill Country branch, which is in Marble Falls. For those of you that don't know, Marble Falls, about an hour west, Horseshoe Bay, 281. It's about 45 crews, a little under 200 employees.
That is wild and quite an operation. So for the people that are listening, that's what we're going to cover is this entire story and journey. And then I think it's going to be fun because Ferris has such a good landscape background, lawn maintenance background. So we're going to go over while we do this, I think we're going to cut through tips and tricks on how to get started, where to position these lawns. How do you even get lawns? How do you get landscape customers? How do you get commercial customers?
Let's go.
And so I think for any of the guys that are scrolling the World Wide Web wondering, how to become there's that site Lawn Care Millionaire. But the truth of the matter is if you're good with your money and you did save it and you were doing this business, you could become extremely successful. But we're also going to find out what it takes to do all that. So take us back to what you were talking about where you said, hey, I made $75. This only took me an hour and a half. And then what light bulb went off, or what were you thinking?
There was no plan. And I look back on that moment and it was just mind blowing how, little I knew, because I did not know at all. And so I remember knowing that property for $75, and then I was like, man, I could do a couple more. And then I did another post, and I took some before and after photos. I kind of got some better content. And I think that next weekend I had about 3 to 4 lined up, and a couple were in Round Rock, a couple were down the toll road in Pflugerville, and again, I was driving a Jeep with a mower in the back. You know those cheap Home Depot weed eaters that are curved?
Yeah.
Stuff I did with my own property.
Dang.
And then a gas can, and then a mix can, and then I did 4, 5. I don't know the exact numbers. I was out there all day. But I made like $300, $400. I'm like, wait a minute. It just got better and better. And then I did that for about a year, solo, myself. And as you know, the landscape space, it's hard work. Let's get honest. It's hot.
The landscape work is extremely difficult. And I tell people, you want to find a guy that's ready to dig out in the Texas heat at 100 degrees, and they're going to plant a tree. And the first swing of that pick, they hit rock. And then it's like, well, no, you need to keep going, and the tree needs to get planted. And so for me, running restaurants and dealing with the cooks and everything else, I also feel like if you can do landscaping, you can do any business on the planet, because landscaping is extremely difficult. And I feel like it's still it's undercharged now. Like, it's just a tough trade. And to find those quality guys to stick around and produce a quality product you're digging through a lot of guys to do it. So what was going on in the landscape space? You're mowing by yourself. What was your first landscape job?
Oh, man, that I don't recall. It was probably a big cleanup, what we call a general cleanup. And I was like, that lesson of I charged too little. Mm-hmm. That was like the boom, man, charged way too little. Landscape job, those were primarily down the road, especially now. We have full designer, so there's a process, timeline, design, and then install. But we've done anywhere from big installs on like Travis down to Mrs. Smith's little, KB cookie cutter home, But yeah.
And then, so when when did you pick up your first employee?
Well, the fire department schedule was, it was just, that was the big fear of it all. There's a lot of emotions too, because I was like, how do I balance both? Mm-hmm. There's some, shifts where I didn't get an hour of sleep. Then I had to go mow 20, 30 lawns. So the first employees were part-time firefighters.
Yeah.
I would just slam 5 firefighters in the truck, and we'd go mow 30, 40 lawns.
Yeah.
We'd stay in one zip code and just nail. And then the next day, we'd just do another zip code, 20, 30, 40 lawns. But answer your question, first-time employee, 2010. And would you believe me if I told you that he's still with me?
Oh, really? How nice. Is he, what's he doing now?
He's the foreman.
Cool.
He runs all the ops, all the operations, all crew communication, routing, everything ops he handles. And he's been with us since 2010. So that's pushing 15 years. He's got a company car, 6 figures and up.
Good.
Bonuses, commissions, and it changed his life.
Good.
So I think that's part of the success story too. I'm not a one man, I didn't create all this on my own. It took a team like my foreman, Mr. Cornell, to get it,
That jump that you took from having a full-time firefighting job, that's one of the places that people just really get stuck on. They're like, man, I've got the comfort and stability of this full-time job, and I'm doing my own thing over here. What was that transition like, and what was going through your mind?
Wow. I mean, this is it, though. This is the deal breaker when everyone says, just take the leap. This is the leap. And you better be ready to have some fear. And I
Mhm.
think if you don't feel that fear and that anxiety, and I don't know if you've anyone watching this or maybe yourself, if you want to experience success, it's someone grabbing your head and just putting it underwater and
Mhm.
trying to take a breath.
Yeah.
So that fork came in the road, and it was like left was the fire department, stay 20 years, get your pension,
Yeah.
you know, and all due respect for the job, it
Yeah.
was kind of like you were settling.
Yeah.
And then the right was, hey, that landscape business of there is no end in sight, there's no limit. And um, at year 10, I was like, I need to do something. I need to figure something out. And it didn't happen overnight. It took me like a couple years to really get that decision made.
How long were you at the fire department before you decided I'm done?
Too damn long.
How long?
Oh man, I was a firefighter 12 years.
Shit.
Too long. And that's one of my biggest regrets. And I think if
Dang.
anyone has regrets, it's like a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Why are you sticking around? And it was and that's part of the growing up. I
Yeah.
should have left year 10 or way earlier. And I kicked myself a little bit, but that's what it's all about too, is making those mistakes.
Yeah. That's a man, it's interesting how many people you talk to that just sit around and don't make the jump to go work for themselves. And that's kind of why we're here, is to tell people that it's worth it. And but it's gonna be hard, just like you said, it's like holding your head underwater sometimes. And in the landscape business, cash flow is crazy, crazy. And you're on 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 jobs and haven't got money. I mean, how many sleepless nights have you had because of stuff like that?
Oh man. I say at least once a month.
I know.
But that's what it's about, though. And if you're talented and you talk
Yeah.
to your peers, like your competitors, and I think
Yeah.
if I could, if we want to give advice on this show, I mean, you should be allies with your competitors. You
A
can, you
100%.
can learn so much,
Yeah.
especially for the guys that you want to be. The bright views or the cleanscapes. Maldonado's big down here. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys are doing in their markets 20 to 30 respectfully annually, which is a great business.
Yeah.
So why would you not want to be learning about those guys?
Well, I'd like to touch on that point too, because I feel like when I was coming up, I started mowing out of the back of an Acura Integra, and you see all these people driving F-250s, F-350s, and I think when you get to a certain point, you're kind of avoiding the other lawn guys. You don't want to talk to them, like, that dude might hate me. And then at some point in my career, start shaking hands with the other lawn guys and being friends with them and learning from them. What equipment are you using? What are you doing to do this? And that also spawned off the referrals from other people, because Grassworks at a certain time might not like to do a masonry chop block edging that we have 2 or 3 guys. And we would show up on landscape jobs that other people were doing. They'd be like, hey, can you just come slap the edging in for us? Because y'all do it perfect. And frankly, I feel like that Mile High Yard Works started the masonry limestone chop block edging. It was out before anybody. They were all using the green edging. And that stuff, it cost the same as limestone block at the time. So for a couple more bucks a foot, you could lay that beautiful limestone masonry edging. But the referrals from lawn guys, like you're saying, how important has that been in your business?
Oh man, I think it's one of the best things I could have done, because when you're struggling, you got to get out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna make excuses. You're gonna give up. But if you can get creative and be solution based, and I can give you, like you just mentioned, handful of competitors didn't service a certain area.
Mm-hmm.
Prefer them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do this type of service, like you just said, like hardscape or borders. I mean, use it, and it can be a little internal network that's not only good for your word of mouth, but your customer respects you.
Yeah.
I mean, your customer builds trust with you because, hey, you don't do this, you're upfront, you're honest.
The other thing is like you said that you might have a small guy that has two dudes and they get an opportunity on a gigantic property and they say, "Hey, man, I can't handle this. Will you take care of it?" So they're just sending stuff left and right. So I would get out there and shake the competitors' hands and get to know them. It's been clutch for me. I'm still friends with several lawn guys. I still talk to a bunch of the lawn guys, landscape guys when they need help. Some of them are wanting stuff with marketing. They want video stuff, and we have all that and help. So those relationships that I've made and you've made, they've lasted years and been great. What would you tell to what would you say to a guy starting out mowing grass that wants to start building a lawn business? What are a couple key tips that you would tell, Joe Bob, 18, 19-year-old lawn boy?
Don't give up.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have a bad day. F it. Move on. Get some thick skin.
Yeah.
Get it together. Move on. I can't tell you how many people told me to give up that were close to me. It's like, and I think you got to understand something. It's not just the landscape space. It could be the restaurant space, hospitality, any industry. You are going to have a hard time getting it off the ground.
Yeah.
You're just going to have a hard time. If it was easy, we'd all be just, whatever. But my point is, don't give up. As cheesy as it sounds. And I've heard many philosophies. I think, there's a lot of guys that want to say, keep it small or blow it up.
Yeah.
Go big, go home kind of philosophy. And I think there's no in between. So you're either going to keep it on the weekends as a side hustle, stay there. Don't venture out into the sea because you're just going to waste your time.
And you're going to hit some big waves. And that's one of the things that I would suggest to a lawn guy that doesn't want to deal with employees and doesn't want to deal with a whole lot of headaches is that you could mow realistically 10 to 12 yards a day without killing yourself. And if you scheduled that for 4 days a week and you were doing, that's 50 yards and it was $75 a yard these days. I don't know what that money is. I'd have to get a calculator out, but it's close to $1,000 or more.
I'll do it.
What's 75 and 75 times 24, 50.
This is why I like lawns. Easy math.
Yeah.
It's
holy crud. So you're hearing from a guy, Ferris, that has a mother load of lawn customers. I used to do several hundred a month, if not 1,000. I'd have to go back and look, but you could be a single man operator and mow your 12 yards a day, 4 days a week, and you're going to bring in $3,750 in revenue. And the only thing you're filling up, if you're not breaking your own equipment, is your gas tank.
Yeah, and a lot of it is what I call tax deferred. Just
yeah,
under the table,
And then so the next step for you to get to that's 120K. It's really 140,000 a year in revenue ish. The next step for a lawn guy to get to 140,000 a year with employees is a huge step. So the difference between you making your 140 minus gas and you hiring and running trucks is a gigantic step. So it is a major commitment to go to the next level.
The next step, it's the scalability of the business. And another we've been talking a lot of, problems, but one of the most attractive things in the landscape space is the scalability.
Yeah.
It's not like a restaurant where you can, here comes lunch rush and 100 people can only, you only have 100 clients. It's the other way around where you can have 1,000 clients in one day. So it's like, it's just the scalability of it. But it's hard because you got to take that risk with cash flow. You're going to have to sacrifice something, whether it's your time or another crew.
Talk about other business transitions. I call them strategic pivots. How many other business opportunities have you made through people that you met just mowing their grass or landscaping?
How many opportunities? Well, I'm gonna be playing golf next week with some a new group in Austin that does lawn care, not mowing, but treating the turf, like weed control, fertilizing. So I'm gonna be working with a new group. It's a big PE company, private equity company.
Yeah.
I'm flattered they're inviting me out. That's gonna be exciting. I know one of the owners he owns and operates a fairly sizable company out of Austin. Yeah, I mean, I was on, like I told you earlier, I was on a podcast with my immigration attorney. That was really exciting. But the opportunities, I think, start in residential, and then you kind of graduate to HOA, multifamily, commercial.
I had stuff come up where I got, one of my customers had a house on a nice lake here in Texas, and I got to rent their house, for a long term.
I don't have any fun stories like that.
That ended up, I found my house like 5 doors down that I bought, and free cars that you've gotten, or a horse, or just, there's all kinds of,
you got paid with horses?
No, but I got a lot of stuff and opportunities that would have never happened. And usually when you're mowing grass on a commercial stuff, you're talking to the top people at that company. So just a lot of business opportunities popped up all over the place. I mean, there's been, just from an ad one time in a paper, we ended up picking up a large property in New Braunfels that paid my mortgage for 12 years. And then off of that, we ended up mowing a billionaire's yard and changing out their flowers to the tune of $30,000-$40,000 a year on just color change on a residential house. But it's been a wild career. So your stories, you're up in Austin. There's a lot of money and people up in Austin and a ton of opportunities. So how did you get from, where did you start learning learning a business? Because your mentality and your knowledge had been in putting out fires. And now you're putting out fires in the lawn business. So where did you start developing your knowledge on how to grow this business?
And it's just stuff like this, having having a good team that's not only internal but external. That means like having a good CPA. You know how many CPAs I've been through? Probably 5, 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, a bad CPA or a bad bookkeeper can put you in a bind.
Yeah.
And, to understand your business, you need to have clean books.
Yeah.
1, 2, you have to, you said this earlier, you got to cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cash flow. And I was actually ironically mowing my yard on my rider, and my CPA calls me and goes, "Hey, I need you to write a check for like $180,000 to the IRS." I'm like, "What?" So that's the kind of planning that I learned from to run a business. Like, you have to plan. And I think metrics, if you're familiar with metrics, anybody can be familiar with metrics. You can create your own metrics just with a simple calendar. But I'm a big metric guy, meaning whether it's a daily reminder of something I need to check in on, or whether weekly, monthly, quarterly, you can create it for your business. But it's just things to let you sleep at night,
Yeah.
Simple metrics will go a long way, and understanding your value too. Don't undervalue yourself. And I want to answer the question, but I don't know how, because I didn't go to college to run a business. I can't give you like a real PC answer.
So what are you doing now and in the past few years to gain more knowledge? We talk on this podcast a lot. A lot of people that sit across the table from me talk about how they do their own self-studying. They watch videos. They go to classes and courses. And so what kind of stuff have you been through to become a successful lawn guy? And when I say successful lawn guy, you got one of the biggest freaking lawn businesses in Austin. And so a lot of times it's hard for entrepreneurs to give themselves a pat on the back, but you got to give yourself a pat on the back for what you've done.
Well, I don't like talking about myself.
Yeah.
I think we said it earlier. I truly like learning from people that are just, kicking ass,
So a mentor.
Yeah, a mentor. I like, you surround yourself with winners.
Mm-hmm.
You are who you hang out with. But you just mentioned like, hey, people read these books, these go to these webinars. Just gonna tell you, I think I learn best when I make big mistakes.
Yeah.
I learn best when I go F it.
Yeah.
You and I are not designed to know it all until we try it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you fall on your face, great. That's the best thing that could ever happen to you is making huge mistakes. Whether it's, it could be anything. It could be little, it could be big.
I could sit here and talk about landscape mistakes that I've made all day long. And then people on the outside looking like, how do you do so well landscaping and this and that? Shit, we just did a lawn. We still do, 8 or 10 landscape projects a year. And, I didn't put any dirt in the freaking bed because I thought we would tear up the grass, till it up. Well, it ended up that the dirt was hard as a rock. So we had to bring in another 40 yards on a drip irrigation system. So it's all wheelbarrowed in.
Yeah.
You talk about a costly mistake.
Well, not only on jobs, but just business, people, relations, hirings and contracts and firings and, man, maybe I should have let that person go a lot sooner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like those kind of mistakes too are helpful. And not only the landscaping, but it's just, you just got to pay attention, man.
There's a lot to it. There's so many moving parts in the landscaping business. What does a landscape bid look like to your company? When a customer calls Grassworks, can you walk me through the process on how y'all start all of that until you actually get to a finished product?
Yeah. Timeline process. If it's an inbound lead, meaning someone calls via SEO website, it gets through a web submission, and then it gets categorized whether it's maintenance or install. If it's typically install, we're going to have to get a walk on the property. So we usually reach out to the customer, get a time frame, do a walk, kick the proposal back to the office, goes out via Dropbox.
Mm-hmm.
So we regurgitate everything, and for the guys that are starting, just show up. Just show up to the job.
Man, I used to tell
just
people.
Show up at 10 o'clock. If Mrs. Smith wants you there at 10, be there at 9:45. If the commercial property wants you there at 8, get there at 7:45. Just show up, and trust me, you're going to have 50% of the battle already won.
That is such gold. And I used to stand there and tell people when Miss Jones would say, well, I'm getting 2 other bids. I would look straight at her and I say, well, they're probably not going to show up, and I'm here, and I'll have you this bid within 24 hours.
Absolutely. That's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. But you guys also, if you want to expect these things, you got to just show up. And
yes.
It's just that simple.
It is.
It's not, yeah. The other thing I would do, when we talk about sales, like I think a lot of people try to say too much. We just talked about the first half. Show up. Number 2 is just shut up and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just shut up and listen, and close it out with a recap. And put it in writing. Don't be afraid. There's just some sort of fear of having some sort of agreement in place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we're talking like a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 job, that's big in my world. Right. I don't know about you, but yeah. I want some sort of understanding with the client too, because not only is the client hiring us, but we're also hiring the client,
mm-hmm.
and they need to kind of bind that and secure their date with 50% down, the scope of work. Everything needs to be crystal clear.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is a handshake. I know it's difficult for a beginner. I know it's just an extra step in the process, but the last thing you want to do is show up with all your guys you gathered on the weekend, have all this material ordered, and then Miss Smith goes, I hired someone else.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't text you, or, try to be compliant as much as you can, and just a simple agreement. I mean, you don't have to get. You don't need to call your attorney and go, hey, I need a 15-page agreement on a lawn mowing service. Have something, guys.
So in y'all's process, you go listen to Miss Jones, and then head back and you regurgitate what she had said to you. And now you guys have designers on staff.
We have
or you send it out.
We have a designer now.
Yeah.
And we like to keep it in-house. And I think the more you span of control, the more you give it to Johnny, the designer, he just got done with ACL Fest and he's too cool. He's backed up. It's going to take a 2-week process. You're losing your control.
Yeah.
And now you're opening that void, that liability for another competitor to come in, turn it around quicker. Remember, just show up, deliver it in 24 hours. We like that. I mean, we'll if we show up before 5, we'll have it to you before 5. If not, back to your 24-hour mark. But so yeah, keep it controlled. The more you send it out, I mean, it's just going to get watered down. It's going to get lost.
Most of these guys are going to not show up, and then the other ones are not going to have them a bid in any amount of time. So back in the day while we were hustling landscaping, I would charge them $50 for the bid. The $50 gets applied if we get your job, and I have your number to you in 24 hours or less. And it was very effective. I think we were running 13 landscape crews at the time. And man, it's such a landscaping. My hat is off to every guy that landscapes now because it's just such a difficult business.
It's difficult, but it's endless. It's got some really negatives, but it's got some really good positives too.
Yeah.
And you could literally start this weekend if you're looking for an opportunity. And I think once you start getting a hang of it, you're just going to be like, I'm consumed. I've seen more guys give up.
Yeah.
Because of the heat or the consume of the phone calls, or they can't juggle the calendar. It's mind blowing.
It is a opportunity that if anybody's going, dude, I need to make $100 like now. It's a Facebook post away and borrowing a lawnmower and a weed eater, and you're in business.
And it's legal.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything illegal.
Yeah.
You just go make some cash.
There's always a delicate balancing act.
Oh man, everyone's gonna say the same, the closing line. I think if you can focus on 3 things, just basic, simple. And this is the truth. If you focus on quality, it's just gonna go endless. Yeah. And I mean that, not just telling your client that, we do good work. Like, you're gonna get a complaint. Like, you're not perfect, and when that email comes in or your phone call, I see so many guys just put up a wall or get defensive.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you just go back out there and remow it?
Yeah.
That would solve a lot.
Yeah.
If it's a landscape install, hey, why don't you get someone out there like today?
Yeah.
Put the fire out. I see a lot of guys run away from their problems. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's when I was young, I used to run away from my problems. And business is also a maturity thing too.
Yeah, it is.
It's taken me.
Yes.
Like, I'm 43.
That's a very valid point.
I think I was so young, and I started this mowing business, a little bit like when I was in junior high. I had like maybe a lawn or 2. We all did that. But when I left San Antonio, I moved to Austin. I tried it again before the Fire Academy. I had like 10, 15 lawns. But guess what? I was still young, and I gave up. I gave up too easy. So my point is, if you don't face your problems, they're going to be there. And we all know what those problems are. We all know what's right and wrong. But I think the more as I got older, I started really just pinning things down.
Well, you made a really good point on taking care of these things. If Miss Jones has a problem, just turn around and go fix it.
Be done with it.
Yeah, go. I don't like things hovering over my head. And if Miss Jones wants the edging cut at a 45 where it meets the curb, go spend an hour, get it off your mind, and make Miss Jones happy so she can refer you some more customers.
Or just get rid of her next year.
Well, that works too.
Miss Jones could be a problem and maybe not a good fit,
You have a good point, and I have some advice to add to that. But what do y'all guys do when you do have a customer that you're mowing that's just a constant pain in the ass?
Well, they're there, and that's a reality. I think if you're not only the landscape business, but if you're going to start a business, what we call like a home service business, which is plumbing, electrical, HVAC, you're going to have these homeowners. And they're there because why? Their property is personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their house is personal. So there's this level of like, there's customer service, and there's also like, they're kind of looking down on you in a way because you're in the lawn and you're kind of like their worker, which is fine, But you gotta, if you have a problem customer, I always like to do what we talked about: go out there, get it done, and then if it continues on, sometimes if you give them an inch, they'll take the mile.
Always.
So educate them and kind of help them understand. Hey, you just have basic mowing. If you want the shrubs done, we do a lot of maintenance. So if you want the shrubs and flower beds done, that would be another package like our TLC. That's a great upsell point too, because they don't really know any better unless you just sit there and give them 5 minutes and help them explain it. Like, hey, back to that agreement. We just have simple mowing for you, but we're more than happy to do the whole thing for you.
And then if that keeps up, what I found is when you do fire Miss Jones as a customer, because you're in charge at this point, we don't have a boss telling us what to do. And if Miss Jones is giving us headaches, every time that I let go of a customer, a new one shows up the next day, and they're usually better.
I thought you were going to say something else, but that's a good one too. Another angle is take your bottom 10% clients and just cycle them through an upcharge.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. And you got to remember, this is a subscription-based business. This is no different than Spotify or your Amazon, Netflix. Take your bottom 10, 5%, and just...
And what's been your experience with this weighs on people's mind and they lose sleep over this? What's been your experience when you've raised the price on people?
Do it. Pull the Band-Aid off. Like we just talked about. Stop running away from your problems. You have to raise your prices. You can't sit here and keep your same price point for years. It's going to be really bad for your business, cash flow, just annual growth.
And out of 100 customers, how many are going to even say anything?
We have the math on this if you want to hear it. It's less than 1%.
Yeah.
Some will say something, but we tell them. I mean, we're not running away. We're saying, we tried. And the reality is we don't like to do price increases.
Right.
We don't. I mean, how many times do you want to go? It's like going to your mom and dad and like, can I get another $20? Like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, and I don't want to be coming to you asking for money, but the reality is, it's not easy to do, but it's certainly necessary, much like the ups and downs of the economy. You're going to have to 3% cost of living.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to do something. Your employees want raises.
That they do every year.
I mean, I don't get notified when the damn diesel goes to $4 a gallon. Right. No one sends me a notice, but we try to do the right thing.
Well, you make a good point, and I've just heard many stories of sleepless nights and that people want to raise their prices. They don't do it. And when in reality is, in your experience, is that less than 1% of people say anything. And as another story, I was at the ranch the other day, and we sell prickly pear margaritas that are hand-picked at the beer house down in Port Aransas. We pick them by hand, which means we take labor down there. We juice them. It's 110 degrees. There's rattlesnakes, scorpions. It's a pain in the ass to get.
Well, they're drinking and they don't understand what's behind it.
They don't, and most of the people don't even believe that you hand pick them. But we're selling these margaritas for $9 in Port Aransas, and I thought, every other drink down in Port Aransas, it's a vacation town. For a prickly pear margarita, it should be $13 or $14. I said, well, we're going to raise them to $11 on Friday, and we're going to find out if anybody says anything. And the results are in. The prickly pear margaritas are still $11 at Port Aransas, which we purchased some other property next door to Beer House for the parking lot. And that $2 raise will cover that note on that purchase, which is just insane. But if anybody's wondering if they need to make price adjustments and they're going to get a bunch of kickback, you're not going to. Just make it. You got to do what you have to do for your business to survive. And so stuff like that happens, but it's another thing that just weighs on people's mind all the time. What you have a stressful business. Landscaping is not for the faint of heart. How does you as a business owner take time to go relax and free your mind from this? What would you suggest to people?
Man,
not drugs, sex, and alcohol. We'll keep it legal.
Lay off the booze.
Do you drink?
Yeah. And it took some years to kind of really evaluate that and remove it from my life. And so no, I don't drink nearly as much as I used to. Special occasions, whatever. But that's number one, and that alone will fix a lot of your stuff.
Yeah.
2, I'm grateful for my wife. She is a kick-ass lady. I mean, she is a badass mom. I call her like a tier 1 mom.
Yeah. I
don't know if you know what that feels like, but I didn't really grow up that way.
Yeah.
But I come home and I'm grateful that, like this sounds like sexist, but the house is clean. Mm-hmm. My laundry's done. Like there's dinner. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's different in today's society, but she has this mutual respect for me and I have it for her.
And you never had that growing up?
Well, I've been married before. I didn't have it. I mean, not that I require it. It wasn't like a requirement to get, but
you didn't have that in the contract.
It wasn't in the contract, but it's like there's a lot more value there. And my point is, when you're with someone that supports you,
mm-hmm.
you will do anything for them, your family. It's just a special thing, and that goes a long way for me because I don't have to get up 5 a.m. every day.
Yeah,
and I don't go to the office every day, but there's this special energy that I'm a believer in. If you win the morning, you just win the day.
Yeah.
And so to get up every day, I mean every day. I always check financials. I'm always checking something. So also horses. I mean, my whole family rides horses now. My daughter rides horses. My wife rides horses. And that keeps me kind of, back down to earth.
Yeah.
The horse doesn't give a shit who you are.
No.
I mean, have you ever been bucked off a horse?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I think those horses really kind of changed my mind too. And golf, that's about it.
Yeah, you got to take a break. Mine, I like airplane stuff. So when I shut the phone off and I take breaks in between my schedule. Like I work my relaxation into my work, which might be a problem, but I just can't turn off. Like I'm not turning off for a couple of days. I just can't. So I do it for hours at a time. And when I jump in the airplane, phone's off, relax and focus on that. And so that helps. But you definitely, you got to take a big break. What's next for Grassworks, man? You've built this business up and done a hell of a job. I don't know what percent, but I'm sure you're in the top 3%, 5% of lawn businesses in the U.S.
No, I think the average landscape business is like $500,000 a year.
Well, the top 1% of revenue generating businesses, if you do over, it was a small number. I have to go back and look, but if you're doing 10 million a year, you're in the top 1%.
I read the same thing, dude.
And I wish I could remember what the top 97% is. It's somewhere just barely over $1 million for employed people. So
like attorneys, CPAs. Yeah. No, we're looking for new markets. And ironically, this area I drove down 123 and I'm like, I didn't even recognize San Marcos.
Yeah.
And we have accounts in San Marcos and New Braunfels. We got accounts in Bernie, Spring Branch, Seguin, Schertz. I'm like, so we have our Hill Country branch, and I think it's going to be Comal County, where we're going to put like a little satellite, 5 acres, minor improvements.
Yeah.
That's it.
An office with a bathroom and some storage for the mowers and stuff.
Yeah. Any realtors want to locate that? That would be helpful.
It's always interesting to find a spot. That's one of the things for people coming up. To find a spot to keep your landscape business is also a slight challenge because you got to be able to park several trucks. You need an office.
This is another podcast, man. This is City of Austin is not a fan of landscape businesses. I mean, we've been kicked out of addresses. We've been, yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
We had a really nice location in, they call it 4 Points, 620 West Austin. And and we moved down the road in the city of Austin. They told us to get out again.
Why?
I think it's just the way the city is just not ran really well. So anyway, we finally have a home in Leander.
Cool.
It's 7 acres, unrestricted. So we can do pretty much whatever we want. We're good neighbors, but we keep for our landscape company, we keep a very clean yard. I mean, it's clean.
It's always hard to find a place to dump. I mean, just always something.
I don't know how you did it, but we have Whittlesey. They just come. We have like 3 roll-off containers, and every day they swap.
And are y'all just dumping brush in the roll-off containers?
Yeah, we do.
So they can mulch it?
We do a lot of maintenance. We're probably, I don't have the calendar in front of me. We're probably 5,000 just basic mow, blow, and goes.
Gosh.
And then we have another side of like that TLC.
Do y'all have a tree trimming crew?
No, I think back to like knowing what you do and knowing what you do well to me, it's important.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is right, but I just don't think we can put on, what's that? We're not really like maintenance install. I was going to use an analogy like master of none or something.
Yeah.
You probably know it, but
I forget stuff. You sit over here and you got it in your brain and it just can't come out of your mouth.
I would like to go into San Antonio and Houston and Dallas, but I just don't. Like, I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Like, I think, we do well. Like, our top line's over 15. I think that's good for me. I'm not trying to kill myself with any more stress, but I think money doesn't mean the same thing it does now than it did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy.
It's interesting the growth you said and the maturing and it started with what you said about when you were younger and Miss Jones was ticked off about a problem and you'd run from it, and now you go to it. And then probably at that time, the goal was to make a bunch of money. And then now it's like, for me, it's like, how do we get this organized into a rhythm that's good for everybody around me? The kids, just all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when, I don't know, when I was younger, I don't know how you feel about this, but like reviews really hurt me, and that's full transparency.
Yeah.
But now, now reviews, I think they really fuel business. Like, people see bad reviews, and we have, over 500 reviews, and there's some really bad reviews on there.
Yeah.
But there's also like some really good ones.
Yeah.
Like, we have like a 4.8 or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But I used to get so opinionated on those responses.
Yes.
Now I have to I don't do it anymore, but my office manager, Alicia, if she's listening to this, she will kill someone with kindness.
Yes.
So back to you guys that are starting, take a deep breath.
Yes.
Maybe don't respond right away.
Yes.
But that was me. I would just go, well, this and that. I would get on their level.
Yeah.
And then I've learned over time, just kill them with kindness.
Yes.
And someone's going to read that and be like.
And the kinder that you could be, and you can throw in some snarkety remarks as well, and the kinder that you could be, the better. But With you saying that again, a point that just hasn't been made until now is the maturity on the reviews. And from my standpoint of reviews, the day we opened Beer House, which was one of my biggest projects, we had a thing that said no neck tattoos, but we had it at another bar. It never caused any problem. Well, the day we opened, it was on the news. These people went crazy. They burned us on the reviews.
Customers?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For a tattoo?
That had no tattoos above the neck is what it said. And these people went crazy. Well, it was at that point where we have a line around Beer House. We're cranking out alcohol. And I just said, you know what? I don't give a shit about the reviews. So I don't even look at the reviews anymore. We do the best job that we possibly can. I think that your staff does the best job that they can. If we mess up, we own up to it. And frankly, if the customer had called once and had made this point, they would probably change your review to, they scout my yard. They came out and fixed it. And so the people that are doing reviews, I think people look at those and go, I think Miss Jones is a little off her rocker.
And I think for the crazies, the Karens, whatever you want to call them, they would probably go a lot farther if they just, whatever you're set up for, like email or phone call.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys did this. Would you mind coming and addressing it or fixing it?
Yes.
Absolutely. Rather than, so we get this a lot. We get a lot of threats. So like, I'm going to leave you a bad review if you don't get out here today. And we're like, here we go, and then that's kind of what triggers that spiral. I mean, it's over.
I know.
Like, we're done. But I mean, just, we all would get a lot farther in life if we just said what we wanted to say politely,
Well, I've got another good example because we had a lady break in the Beer House about 2 weeks ago at 3 a.m. and I show up in the afternoon and we're missing a window. I'm like, hey guys, what is going on here? It's not an open air restaurant. So, somebody broke in at 3 a.m. We have camera footage. So we put her picture up on Beer House and we put White Claws on sale because that's what she stole. Well, they came after us again. Everybody's pissed off. Mental health, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I don't really give a shit. I'm the victim. So anyway, one of her friends calls or sent me a letter. Hey, dear owner, this girl's very nice. She's going through a lot of shit, blah, blah, blah. Would you please take this down? And I said, that's how you get stuff done. And we took it down.
Yeah.
And so killing them with kindness works really well. And just the odd world. They didn't have reviews when you started mowing grass, did they?
When I got, this is another podcast. So for guys starting, stay off Yelp.
Oh, yeah.
Stay off Yelp.
And Angie's List.
Stay off Yelp. Stay off Angie's List.
Better Business Bureau.
Stay off Better Business Bureau.
All the Better Business Bureau is an advertising agency.
There's a couple others I'll probably remember on the way home, but there's a handful of others I would highly recommend.
Just stay off. They're not going to do you any good.
They use you as leverage.
Yeah.
So I would stick to Google. I'm a fan of Google.
Yeah.
And then another thing, it's called a CRM. I don't know if you're familiar with the CRM.
Yeah.
It just kind of communicates with your clients. Like, hey, did you have a good experience? Write a review. Could be a bad review.
Yeah.
Could be a 5-star review, 1 star, but it still gives you feedback and it creates this system of kick-ass feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you have to do all the feedback, but I mean, if you get a 5-star review, you should have a platform where you can share that and really highlight that review,
Yeah. What would 43-year-old Ferris tell his 20-year-old self? What advice would you look back and tell that young man at this point?
Oh man, this is a wild question. I wouldn't change anything to be where I'm at right now. I just wouldn't, because I think everything was designed, every little left, every little right, every little up and down. So I'm grateful to be where I'm at in my career. I'm grateful to be able to provide for my family. So I would just say, hang on. We can't guess what I would never tell you I'd be here with you today. I would never tell you I live in Horseshoe Bay and, the things we have in our lives.
I know.
And like it's become so normal. It's like, no, it's like it's really is like, there's not a moment I don't pull my driveway. I'm like, man, look at my house, man.
Yeah.
I just feel like the pride in ownership.
Do you know Trey Shapey?
The name sounds familiar. It's been a while.
Yeah, he went to high school with us, and just what you said rings true. We were out on the boat on Lake Dunlop the other day, and just saying that we were out on the boat on Lake Dunlop, what an accomplishment. And we do have to look back and say, man, good job. Like, I can't believe that Trey has a lake house with a boat, and like, what a gigantic accomplishment in his life and the things that you do, the horses and all of that came from actual manual labor, blood, sweat, tears, long days, long nights. But that's the kind of shit that it takes if you want to go ride your own horses with your own family. If you want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment or 2-bedroom apartment, fine, go flip burgers. We have a job for you, But if you want to be doing what you're doing, it takes work, and nobody can take that from you. You did it all yourself with a good team, obviously.
Yeah, the freedom is invaluable.
Yeah.
And on the backside of that freedom is your time. Mm-hmm. If someone said, hey, I'm going to give you $50 million right now, or I'm going to give you 50 more years, I would take the years over that 50 mil any split second. I just feel like the time is, especially as I get in my 40s, I'm like, man, where'd the time go?
It's crazy.
It's wild.
It is. It's it's a lot of just getting up and hustling every single day, and then you look back and you're like, damn, my daughter's 16. You're like, she was just a baby. So you got to make those days count. Where can people find you at? How do they get to Grassworks and get a hold of you? And if they need landscaping, lawn maintenance, y'all do irrigation?
Yeah, I'm a licensed irrigator.
Yeah, what number?
19556.
Yeah, I never got an irrigation license. My wife did it, so she was 16-17-3, and but she was an engineer, so she passed the test with 100 without doing anything. And when you say, "Well, my wife," they're like, "Oh, whatever you want." So where can people find you at?
Well, you probably find us out in your neighborhood. I get calls all the time, like from guys that used to work for the fire department. Like, man, I see your trucks everywhere.
Yeah,
and I'm like, it's weird because I never see them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know where they're at, and they all got GPS and stuff. But like, no, I mean Google, grassworksaustin.com. We're out in the hill country, up and down 281.
What areas are y'all serving?
We go all the way to Waco from Austin.
Holy crap.
And then we got the city of Temple. As far east we go, Hutto, Manor.
That is a huge area.
Out west we go Kingsland, Lampasas, Burnett, Marble Falls.
All from Leander.
No, that out there, it's all the Marble Falls branch.
What does the day-to-day schedule of you look like?
So it's a good question, and I think it's a great question. I'll give you the honest answer. I'm always working. Yeah, I'm not drinking anymore. So yeah. I'm not like it's 3:00 and someone picked me up at the bar.
I miss those days.
You ever have those moments?
Well, I don't drink anymore, but I dream of just getting hammered from 3:00 on like the old days, but I don't.
Yeah, that's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
And, yeah, I used to go at the bar like right when it opened, like 11, and like stay to like closing, and then it's like, no wonder my business isn't doing too good.
Yeah,
no wonder I like have this dilemma in my life, but. Yeah,
those are not good habits.
But that's good. I'm glad you're not drinking.
No, I haven't drank in a long time, but I get migraine headaches and was taking migraine pills before I drank, and I was like, this is probably an issue, so I just stopped. And I don't know how long it is, and I won't drink again. But I do like the thought of getting drunk. Sounds fun.
hot weather. And
Cold beer.
Oh man.
Out of the ice chest.
Like back when we were mowing lawns out of my house in Round Rock, I had a kegerator in the garage. So we backed up, unloaded, cleaned equipment, and just
be great.
hammering beers. But yeah, it's not a good recipe for day to day.
Well, we'll wrap up here. We have a lunch date at beautiful Burnt Bean. Have you ever been there?
No, I'm excited to go.
Well, Burnt Bean Barbecue, shameless plug, but they're my buddies. These guys, they give it all they got, and they're masters of their craft.
Is this one of those places where there's like a line around the corner?
Some of you guys know about my favorite barbecue place, Burnt Bean Barbecue, located in Seguin, Texas. There's been arguments for years about who the best barbecue is, and there's a reason they call them the Pope of Barbecue for a reason. Burnt Bean sets the bar in barbecue. They're located in Seguin, Texas. Their line takes about 30 minutes to eat, which is not that long. My favorite thing, of course, is the brisket or the turkey, and then for dessert, you've got to have their peach cobbler with ice cream. Burnt Bean Barbecue's in Seguin, Texas, and it's worth the drive and it's worth the wait.
Yeah, it's real good. But Ernest Cervantes and David Kirkland have become good friends over the past few years, and I enjoy sitting and talking with them. And you'll get to go see how their business operates and how just, specific they are on every single detail of their food. And I'm a restaurant guy, right? But I'm not sitting there watching that a quarter cup of salt goes in here, this much pepper. And these guys are managing every single detail of their business to put out what you will soon find out is the best barbecue you've ever had. So,
man, that is, I'm going to be ready to judge.
Yeah. Well, they're ready to show you what they got. And I got a funny story about Ernest Cervantes. He tells me that this guy comes in the other day and he's like, hey, I want to cook a brisket against you. And Ernest is like, okay. And his buddy's like, yeah, when do you want to do it? He goes, no, that's not how we work, man. What we're going to do is we're going to cook 44 briskets on this pit, and we're going to pick one, and we're going to judge that. And he goes, oh, I can't do that. And Ernest said, well, get out of here then.
Damn.
And so, but that's how good they are. So anyway, I appreciate you being here. Grassworks in beautiful Austin. Y'all are all over Texas. It's impressive. And I know the stuff that you guys have to put up with and deal with every day. And running a big lawn and landscape business is no easy feat. So you've done well. I'm glad you stopped by. If anybody needs any lawn landscaping stuff up in Central Texas or maintenance on big properties, I've seen these guys work their trucks. They maintain some of the nicest properties there and can usually fit some sort of a package to fit your budget on what you're looking for. And if you're totally out of line with your budget, he'll let you know. So
politely.
Yeah, as politely as you can. So, well, let's wrap it up and go eat some barbecue.
Thank you.
Thank you.